deduction of these profits. So in this particular case, it's a sole trader. So that £1,000 that he's taken out to live on is not a legitimate business expense. It's only if you're a limited company your wages are. So what we want to do is prepare a profit and loss account for 3 months. I've said businesses prepare annual accounts for tax purposes. Jackie?
Does that mean the less you take out the business, the more the taxman would take?
No.
No.
The taxman's simply saying, this is the profits you've made. We don't care what you do with them, we're taxing you on them. So you could take the lot out and you'll be taxed. You could take nothing out and you'll still be taxed. The same amount of tax.
Right.
Okay? They're taxing it on the profits before you touch it. But what you do with it after that's up to you. Okay? You can bury it in a biscuit tin if you want to. They'll still tax you on it. And that's what it would look like. Notice the heading, Profit and Loss Account for ABC Joiners for the quarter ending December 2013. If you're using software, it's probably programmed to type up the heading of what it is you're printing out. If you're keeping manual records yourself, or if you're using Excel spreadsheets, then make sure every financial statement you produce for your business, it's got heading on it. It tells you what it is. Because small businesses are notorious for their bad filing. And one day you might get a tax inspection. You might not, because they don't target everybody. It's a random check. And they don't have these resources to check everybody's tax returns. So they do a random check and they check certain tax returns and they investigate certain businesses. It's just your luck whether you get hit or not, so you probably won't. But if you ever did get a tax inspection and the tax inspector came out and said, you've been trading for 3 years, I've got your tax returns here for the last 3 years, where's the evidence to back up this? And you say, well, everything's in that shoebox there and there's no titles on them, I don't know what's what. I have a feeling the tax inspector might get a little bit upset. And when tax inspectors get upset, they go for your throat. So if you say to them, it's all in there and it's not got labels on it, sort it out yourself, you can guarantee they'll find problems with your accounts. But if you can say to them, it's all in the folders there and it's all detailed, date-wise and exactly what it is, it makes your job an awful lot easier. So every financial statement you produce, put a heading on it. What is it and when does it relate to? In this particular case, we're looking at 3 months. The sales, 3,700 a month. Over a 3-month period, multiply that by 3 and you get 11,100. Everybody okay with that? The direct materials were 700 a month, so we multiply that by 3 and we take that away from the sales. We've got a gross profit of £9,000. Then we've got a whole range of fixed costs. Most of these are simply what we saw in the last slide multiplied by 3 to give it a 3-month period. A couple of them do need a little bit more explanation. The first one is depreciation, 625. How have we calculated that? Well, that's how we've calculated it. We're depreciating the vehicle at £1,000 a year, and we're dealing with a quarter of a year. So we're taking a quarter of 1,000, 250 depreciation expense. What we're also doing is reducing the value of that vehicle from 4,000 by 250 down to 3,750. For the computer, it was £1,000 over 2 years, £500 a year, 125 for a quarter of a year. Similarly for the equipment, 250 for the quarter. We add the 3 of those up and we get 625 that we're claiming as a depreciation expense, reducing the value of each of those by that amount. We've then got bank interest is another one, £72. How we've calculated that is, we've got a loan of 2,400, 12% interest per annum, 1% interest per month, on 2,400 is £24 a month. Remember, you're actually paying to the bank £124 every month, because you're paying off 2,400 over a 24-month period. But the £100 you're paying is not an expense. The £100 is simply paying back to somebody what you borrowed from them in the first place. The only expense is what the bank are charging you for interest. So, £24 a month, multiplied by 3 months, 7.2. The rest of these are just 3 times what we saw in the monthly figures. And we finish up with £2,032 of fixed costs.
Are all those fixed costs allowable tax expenses? Would they go down on your tax return?
Would I dare put anything up here if it wasn't? Yes. Okay, basically, expenses in business are the expenses that are incurred because you're in business.
Right.
So if you can justify why you're spending the money, it's for business purposes, then you can claim it. So if you were to claim a new dress because you're going to the Christmas ball, I doubt very much if they could claim that as a business expense. But if you could say, I've got to wear a hard hat and boots because I'm in the construction industry, that's a business expense. So if you can justify the cost related to business, you can claim it as an expense.
Right.
Okay? But if it's just a normal everyday cost, then the answer is no. All of these ones, of course, are very legitimate. And basically what we're saying is, the gross profit was 9,000, the fixed costs were 2,000, we've made a profit of just under £7,000 over a 3-month period. I don't know if that would satisfy you guys, I have no idea about your ambition or your greed here. £7,000 for 3 months? Don't know. The problem is, that's where most small businesses stop. They keep the bookkeeping records that you guys did in the first half. From that information, they produce a profit and loss account, and they say, I've made a profit of £6,968. And their next reaction is, thank God that's over, let's go out and enjoy ourselves now. Instead of remembering, that's the bookkeeping side. The other side is the financial management side. And the real purpose of keeping records is to answer that question. How can you make more money? How can you be more profitable? Historical records let you see how you've done. It's then up to you to investigate these and say, how could we do better? What if? How could you make more money in any business? Making a profit is the income you generate less the costs involved. So how can you make more profit?
Reduce your costs.
Reduce your costs. Or increase your income. That's the only 2 ways you can do it. So how could you increase your income?
Do more.
Do more. Get busier, go off your backside and work harder. What's a much easier way to make more money?
Put your prices up.
Put your prices up. Put your prices up by 5%. For the same volume of business, they've moved from 11,100 to 11,655, £555 more income at no cost. So why don't businesses do that all the time? Why don't you just keep putting your prices up? That's the easiest way to make more money. Why don't you do that?
You'll get too expensive.
Because it'll be too expensive, you'll be less competitive. A lot of our clients, when we say to them, have you thought about putting your prices up? Their response is, if I put my prices up, I'll lose customers, I'll lose business. Let me repeat that. If I put my prices up, I will lose business. Who the heck do you know you'll lose business? If you're good, customers will probably pay a little bit more to stay with you. You do you not? You go in somewhere and the price has gone up very slightly. Do you storm out and say, I'm never ever going to buy from them again? That's ridiculous. No, you shrug your shoulders and you say, inflation. And that's what customers will do to you too. If you're good and customers value you and they like dealing with you, putting your prices up slightly is not going to put them off. Putting your prices up by 50%, that's a different story. And it also depends on how competitive your marketplace is. So there's no definitive answer there. Yeah?
There was a recent investment I've made where I've placed half of my paintings into an exhibition space in Shawlands. However, they take away about 40% of the price So I'd usually have my paintings at about maybe £50 to £60, and between £40 and £100, but I've increased the price to 5 of them are now at 120, and I've always at 175 because basically I'll get they'll have like about 40% of my price, so I'll end up with £72 each
From
piece.
these.
Just wondering, is that not the best move?
Well, in terms of using agents and getting them commission, if they can increase your sales, then it's worth paying them commission for it. But if they can't, they won't. But if you put your prices up by too much, in many industries that would be a bad thing. In the world you're in, the higher the price, the more some people value it. And they think, oh, that's selling for 60 quid, it's not worth buying. That one's selling for 3 million, now that's an investment. I can't tell the difference between the two bloody paintings, but the price is there. So, in your particular world, putting the prices up may actually encourage people because they want to boast about how much they spend. But in most businesses, it's not. But putting your prices up slightly is the easiest way to make more money if you don't lose any customers. And if you're good enough, you won't lose customers. The only way you'll find out is to try it. Put your prices up slightly and see what happens. If possible, don't do it across the board. If you've got a range of products and services, put a slight increase on one of the products and services and notice the effect. If it doesn't lose any business, you can spread it to other elements of your business. If it does lose 50% of your business, it was a dumb move, but it's only a small part of the business that's been affected. So try it and see. If you can segment your customers into different groups, then try a slight price increase with one of these groups and see what happens. If it works, you can spread it. If it doesn't, it's not had a major impact. But always be thinking in business, what's going to happen if I put my prices up slightly? Because if you get away with it, it's the easiest way to be more profitable. Don't assume you'll lose business by putting your prices up. Another way is to reduce your costs. So the direct materials you buy, if you can get a better deal with your supplier, you've got no more sales income, but your costs have gone down. So you go to your supplier and you say to your supplier, I've been dealing with you for the last year and your prices have stayed the same. There's competition out there. I can go to your competitors and get a better deal. What are you going to do about it? And what are they going to say? They might say, off you go. They're more likely to say, certainly in their own minds, I don't want to lose you as a customer. You don't want to lose customers, neither do they. So they will give you a better deal. If you don't ask, you won't get. Have any of you ever gone to your broadband supplier and said to them, I can get a better deal? You're with Virgin and you phone them up and say, your prices have been going up and up and up. Sky offer a much better deal than you do for new purchasers. What are you going to do about it? Their response immediately is, oh, well, wait a minute, maybe you're not on the right tariff here. Maybe we could give you a reduction here, and we could give you this bit free, and we could give you this bit for 6 months. Don't ask, you won't get it. Ask, and you have a good chance of getting it. Do the same for all your suppliers. Once you've been with them for a few months, go to them and say, I'm a regular customer now, I can get what I'm getting from you elsewhere. Persuade me to stay, and you'll often find you get reduced prices. That way, your sales income hasn't increased, but your costs have been down, so you've made more profit. All the other expenses, your energy costs, your motor expenses, your telephone, your insurance, go compare. Do what the guy on telly tells you. Go and fight with the different companies and see which one gives you the best deal. And then go back to your own supplier and say, I've dealt with this other company, they can offer me this, what are you going to do about it? That's maybe not the word to use because that's fighting words. But if you say, I'd quite like to stay with you, but they're offering a better deal, can you match it? You'll probably find the answer is yes. And that's reduced your costs, which has increased your profit. Financial management is all about improving your profitability.